Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel Colonati. Today I'm going to review The Man in the Tree by Sage Walker. This is coming out from Tor on September 12th, and it's a science fiction novel with a murder mystery plot. The action takes place on the Kybele, a planned multi-generational seed ship that is about to head out on its journey to the stars to find a new planet where humanity can take root. The last of the work crews are leaving, the final team members and lottery winners are coming on board, and they are about to leave, and then a man is found dead hanging from a tree in a park inside the ship. Who is he? How did he die? And do they have a murderer on board? The ship doesn't have a security force or police per se, but they do have Helt Borison, the incident analyst who is now tasked with investigating this death. Initially, the stakes are very understated. The book's description makes it sound like this one death will scuttle the ship's mission and doom humanity's great attempt to reach another planet. That's not really how it came across to me in the text. For example, I don't recall any characters specifically stating a strict deadline when they are going to leave, and bizarrely enough, the death itself barely even makes the news. Rather, it's more a case of who gets to leave and who must stay behind. Nothing is really going to stop the Kybele leaving, but they would prefer to kick the murderer off before they go and to avoid any potential sabotage. There's also the possibility that innocent people who can't be alibied in time will be kicked off the ship, and once they do leave, legal jurisdiction may change, and that would make an ongoing investigation even more of a hassle. I think this is all well and good, however, because it seems to be a more subtle and realistic situation than just we're all doomed because of this one murder. But it does mean that there is a significant lack of urgency through a good chunk of the book. There aren't even that many compelling personal stakes for the investigators. Now, Helt, who is the protagonist, does sort of have a romantic one. He has just fallen madly in love with the prime suspect in the case, and if he can't clear her name, then she will probably get kicked off and he will probably choose to stay behind with her on Earth. So the things I want to pick apart in this book are really not about the actual murder investigation, because for the most part that is par for the course, the only twist being that the people investigating the death are not trained professionals who've dealt with murders before. They are a bit unsure about what they are doing. So the things that I thought were really interesting to analyze were outside of that, mainly in the setting. First and foremost is the time period. I think this is a very unusual time to set a story that features a seed ship. It's on this cusp, it's ready to leave, but it hasn't left yet. The people on the ship have just started to think in terms of us versus those who remain on Earth. They're still communicating with friends and family and colleagues back on Earth. Most stories that I've read that feature long-duration spaceships are driven by future generations who didn't make the initial choices, attempting to keep the ship up and running with a finite amount of resources in order to reach their goal. Not so in this case, and that brings me to the state of the Kybele itself. The Kybele is nearing the end of its initial construction, but it's destined to be incomplete for generations. It's created out of an asteroid, and when you're inside of it, it feels like you are on a planet. It has like a fantastically realistic gorge with a river running through it. There's parks, there's wilderness where you can go camp under the sky and see deer at twilight. There are public spaces. You can see these background characters eating in the restaurants and the bars, walking through the agora and stopping at the food stalls. But there's also this sense of emptiness because the ship is built for a much larger population than it has at the beginning. It's like there is this physical potential everywhere. This is where things are going to happen, but not yet. Ultimately, I think it is highly symbolic that this murder takes place at this time, in this particular place, almost arresting the act of us leaving humanity's birthplace. Wherever humanity goes, we take our problems with us, and I think that is the lesson that the Kybele's leaders have to confront at the end. They can try to build a new system, a new world, new laws based on every successful legal system that humanity has ever created to solve their problems. And in the end, they will never be able to 100% predict all the problems that could arise out of their population of humans because they haven't changed us. Sometimes I struggled with the execution of this book. The characters, the plot, the writing were all good, but they didn't excel in some places. But by the end, I felt like all these decisions that Walker had made, especially with the time and the place, they made me do a lot of thinking, and I really appreciated that. Those are my major thoughts on The Man in the Tree by Sage Walker, though I have to say there are other things I could talk about, like comparing Helt looking at women with the stalker behavior in the book. Why does one work but the other doesn't? And the surveillance videos, so much surveillance and issues of privacy. Some really good discussions around that. But I think that's it for this. And if you've read this book or you want to, please leave me a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.